Move to approve the financials.
Second.
Call for vote.
Discussion.
Oh, discussion, go ahead.
So Adrian, what happened with the transfer that we had talked about on Friday that was coming from the sheriff's office?
I received a request from Pam McMahon at the auditor's office to pull that transfer that they had decided to fund ADP through internal transfers between the auditor and ADP.
And because I know that there was a concern of being able to make the payroll, correct? That they did not have enough money in their account?
ADP does not, so I'm assuming that they are going to be transferring employees out of that fund and into either an auditor account or into the real estate assessment fund in order to pay them. The rationale that they're using for that is that this is some sort of reimbursement or credit to ADP for services that were rendered to both the auditor and the real estate assessment fund.
Okay. And about how much was it, do you know?
I don't know the total of all their transfers, but when we were contemplating transferring available appropriations from the sheriff to ADP, it was a little over $132,000 in total for salaries, OPERS, and hospitalization that they were going to need.
Okay. So when would those transfers be taking place?
One of the transfers and also a supplemental are all on the financials for today.
Right. And that enough that it's going to cover to not hold up payroll?
For this payroll, the end of this week, yes. We'll have to see for the last payroll of the year. I'm assuming that they have enough. It just depends on, the timing and different things. So, but we can take a look at that.
Okay.
Later in the month.
Okay.
I see Auditor Walters here. Did you want to make any comment on that?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd be happy to. So, we had no intention, we never asked for any monies to be transferred in for ADP. This year, different than other years, we are doing our accounting a bit different and unusual in ADP. And that is normally when ADP does work for the auditor or GIS, we build throughout the year. So I will move money from GIS or the auditor's funds to pay for the ADP people that are working on New World, ISSG, or the Esri GIS product. This year we did it differently. We waited till the last part of the year. And we did that so we could do true-ups into December. As you know, I am a bit short-staffed in the auditor's office. I wasn't really happy with the through-the-year period because I couldn't account for things as well. So we're experimenting this year. So I appreciated Adrian reaching out to Pam as he recognized the percentage was high of consumption in ADP. But Pam and I had not yet discussed the action plan, and nor did Pam request that money be transferred. So we have adequate funds to do it. This week is covered. Next week we're using some GIS money, and we're still working out those details. So, I think this is a classic much ado about nothing, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Well, I disagree with you, Chuck, that it's a classic much to do about nothing. It's critical. Because if we would have had this shortage, we would not have been able to process payroll in the county for all employees.
But Ralph, the big we is me. My liability is to pay for my hiring authority.
Right.
And I appreciate your concern for my welfare, as disingenuous as I believe it is. However, I have adequate funds to cover my payroll. I did not ask the commissioners to provide me with any additional resources, and the onus is on me to pay my employees. So the emergency that you've obviously manufactured isn't there.
Where's this emergency coming from?
From you.
How are you saying it's an emergency? What? Because I had a conversation with Adrian based on our financials?
No, because it seems like there's an overemphasis and concern about my being able to make payroll. In the 8 years that I've been auditor, have we never not made payroll?
I'm not saying that that you have not made payroll, but I think that it's a shell game that you're basically, ADP is funded for salaries, right? And there's a certain amount of dollars that was funded for salaries. And you exceeded that.
No, I did not exceed that. In past years, ADP's salaries are paid for by different burdens who consume them. This year, for example, ADP went full cloud on New World, which is an auditor program. I have not paid them for that. I waited till December to true that up. Just like any other endeavor, if ADP does work for Russell Township or Bainbridge or Auburn, they send them a bill and they get paid for that service. Auditor is no different. Now, there are some exceptions to that rule that I'm happy to talk to you about. For example, ADP has paid thousands of dollars to move the Board of Elections from 470 to here. That's never been reimbursed to ADP. ADP put in all the cameras in the elevator. They've never been reimbursed for those cameras. When the Board of Elections moved into their space, in their server room, we had to fireproof that room. We covered that cost and have not been reimbursed for that. We're talking well over $150,000.
But that
Those-
didn't come out of the salary line.
It did. Employees did that work, Ralph.
Okay.
Employees are the ones who open that elevator up and help the guy string the wire. Employees are the ones that work with the contractor in the basement to secure that server room. Employees are the one who boxed up the computers and moved the Board of Elections from 470 over 3 days into the basement.
And I understand that, and I appreciate that, but I guess at the end of the day is that also not part of their job?
To move,
To-
to move hiring authorities?
But you're making it sound like they had this huge surge of dollars that was part of their, was it not part of their day that day?
No.
You know, it's just, I have a concern in the sense that, you know, there's just so many inconsistencies. You know, your overtime this year is at close to $60,000. You know, you've got a director. None of our directors in this county make overtime, but your director is probably close to $12,000 in earn.
He's also the lowest priced director.
I would disagree with that.
Price per hour.
I would disagree with
I run
that.
the top 50.
I understand that, but it's just, I can go on and on, you know, as far as, you know, increases that you've had as far as
Well, here's my question,
employees.
Ralph, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is what's irritating me. It seems to me this kind of conversation should be had during my budget hearings, which you didn't show up for.
Right. I was out of town and I'll be totally honest with you. I listened to the tapes and you basically had a temper tantrum at the end of it. You know, that as soon as you get questioned on anything, just like today, anytime you get questioned about anything about your budget, you always have some, you know, pie in the sky story to tell of how you're going to justify it. The bottom line is this, is you overspent your salary budget in ADP.
That's not true.
Okay, so do you have enough money today in ADP to be able to make your account?
ADP is not funding the people that I've already referred to as doing the work outside of the ADP services.
You know, is it true or is it not true? There's 2 additional people that ADP has that wasn't budgeted for in '25. So what I'm trying to say is this.
Ralph, is
Let's-
it true or not true that the commissioners have hired additional people this year? And are paying them more than the previous people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay,
But-
then that's how life works.
But-
You
but-
budget at a moment in time, and you do your best to work within those constraints. In this particular scenario, as I've explained to you, normally what we would have done is we would have paid off ADP's work as it went throughout the year. This year, we elected to do it differently. We did a true-up in December. It was my fault for not telling Adrian that that was my plan. But that doesn't change the dynamic and the fact that those employees were doing something outside of their normal work. And they were doing it specifically for a project that I, as auditor, hired.
And I think that my other thing is I think that there was some other communication that went to one of your directors that was saying, you know, we're getting close on numbers, you know, to be aware of some of the spending, some of the things that are going on. and where, you know, where did that go? You know, I
have no
think
idea
that
what
it's
you're
just,
talking about.
I just think that there's a point in time where it's like, I think that we need to really dive deep, because if you've got all this extra money that you have in all these other accounts to pay this, then we way over budgeted
I
and over.
budgeted for New World in Auditor. I budgeted for the ESRI program in GIS.
I
I
mean,
just didn't pay the people yet.
and to be totally honest with you, Chuck, I did a little bit of homework here too, because I wanted to just try to bring up a couple of these points is, you know, on the, you know, if you look at where we're at as far as ADP and auditor increases, you know, back in 2021, we were at $1.2 million. Today's request is going to be for $1,507,000. On your auditor, no problem. It's pretty much held steady, sometimes higher, sometimes lower. We understand that. On ADP, okay, in 2021, we were $1.2 million. Today's appropriation is going to be over $3.3 million
There's no appropriations for today.
for the tax
You're not
budget of what
transferring
you're, no, but what I'm
$130,000
saying is
into
for the tax budget, we're looking at $3.3 million from 1.2. When we're looking at like the refund, you know, you're saying, you're saying that with the refund, you know, in 2020, salaries in the refund, $434,000. In 2025, $800,000. In fund number 06501, in the refund, $259,000 in 2020. In today's time, in 25, $485,000.
Well, do you know what the refund is?
Yeah, I am familiar with it.
What is the refund?
For the real estate assessment.
And what happens every third year and every sixth year?
And I understand that, but what happens where we're having such a huge increase of salaries in those?
I
Those
am
changes,
required-
how are they
I am
happening?
required by law to do the reappraisals.
And I understand that.
That's why the numbers change every third year. You have to contract these people to do the countywide reappraisal. I have to do periodic flyovers. I have to do that. That's all part of the statute. The trouble with REAP is it's not a constant every year. It's a variable every year because we're on a cyclic pattern. That's the nature of the beast. I didn't write those laws. I don't necessarily like them, but I have to follow them. You know, you've been critical of my even doing a reappraisal,
Yeah, I do, because, you know,
but I'm
something,
required by law to do it.
I understand that, but you know something, I'm gonna be totally candid with you. I would have said this, is have the backbone to stand up and say, these houses aren't worth what you're appraising them
Ralph,
at.
did you go and testify to the Senate and?
I'm not gonna get into the whole testify the Senate and all this other stuff with you. But what I'm telling you
You just think I should
is
stand up
that
and just say I'm
we're-
not gonna do my job? That's-
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying is we have,
let me ask you
and
a
this
question,
isn't just Yaga, this is the whole state of Ohio that has
If
this
you're so
problem.
concerned-
Don't interrupt me a second, let me finish. This is the whole state of Ohio that has this property issue where all of these people in Geauga County, the taxes have been inflated to the point that people can't afford to pay these property taxes anymore. And at the end of the day, these houses, look at where the market has gone today. Sure, during COVID, a total crazy time of our lives that hopefully we never see again. And stuff that was worth $100,000 was selling for $500,000. But where's it at today? It's starting to go the other way. But yet you're stuck with this bill. You're stuck with this bill of these outrageous property taxes. And what I can tell you is this, is that when you're appraising these houses, what's the realistic appraisal? The realistic appraisal is not what they were coming out at. And how many of our residents today are reaping the negativity of that number? You know, we're burdening our seniors are just, they're at their max. They can't afford to live anymore. You can't afford to pay these taxes. You know, and then we're looking at these budget numbers that are just absolutely off the charts, you know, paying overtime and paying this, paying that. Let's go out into the real world of people that are in factories and people that are in industry, and let's go really and look at what some of the increases they're able to afford from all of these years of service that we're just continuing to just give out money. I understand that people have to live and we need to be able to pay fair wages. But when I'm looking at some of these increases that this year happened in ADP of people getting upwards of 20% increases, and it's not just one or two that you could say, hey, we're giving them a merit. I mean, people are getting $4 or $5 an hour raises. That turns out to be $8,000 to $10,000. We've got just this year, after we committed to the 4% that this year started, we basically are in a situation where now we're faced with an additional almost $60-some thousand that you've got into ADP alone of increases. Just on wage increases that people have gotten. And I understand that there are certain people you need to take care of and help them and reclassify and everything else. But it's like, when does this end? When do we start being accountable to the tax dollar and to the taxpayer? So
Well,
go
I
ahead
guess
and
the
say what you
question-
want.
The question I would ask you then, Ralph, you being this concerned about the taxpayers and the burden that they're playing, why would you not once, in 8 years that I've been auditor, not once attend a single BOR hearing and listen to these people come in and argue and complain and pitch their case legitimately that the values of their homes are upside down? And why wouldn't you then vote to reduce their house values legitimately, but you don't even show up for the meetings?
Right.
But you're criticizing me doing that and doing my job, and yet I went down 3 times to the state to argue the property taxes are outrageous. Most of House Bill 96 originally was part of my doing with Senator O'Brien. I didn't see you down there. Your solution is we should abolish all property taxes.
It is. And every Saturday, they're
I
at my store
understand that.
getting signatures
I understand.
because we do need a
Please don't
reset.
interrupt me while I'm talking.
Go ahead.
I just think therein lies the problem. I believe tax reform is what's necessary. You believe tax abolishment is what's necessary. We're both entitled to our opinion. But I'm not going to sit here and be lectured that I don't understand the taxpayers are hurting. I have gone out of my way to fight for the taxpayers. I go and I listen when their house values are overvalued. And I vote accordingly. But I'm just not going to arbitrarily lower people's values, because if you don't understand this, when you lower one person's value in tax, it moves to everybody else. It cheats the rest of the people. So you have to be fair, and you have to go according to the law and the requirements. And I understand you don't understand that because you've never done it. You've never once attended those BOR hearings, even though you were the prime person on that year.
Right.
So
And
I would have encouraged you to come.
I select my alternate, and I have conversations of the process all the time.
Do you?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
So
Yes,
the
I do.
times where your alternate didn't show and you didn't show, and the treasurer and I were there by ourselves doing it, that was you getting involved in the
Yeah,
process?
yeah.
Okay.
Things happen, right?
Yeah. So I don't know what you, I appreciate you just want to bash me. This has been your.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
I-
I think that this is just you, basically, that can never be asked a question because you always have to be right.
I have been here
That's what it
how many
comes down to.
times in the last 12 months to answer your questions? When have I not come and answered your questions? When?
No, not that I recall.
Well, then what's the problem?
What I'm telling you is you're saying that I'm bashing you, so you're bringing that up. I'm telling you I'm not bashing you.
You're saying.
I'm basically
you're
telling you
saying
that
I don't like being
I'm
asked the
exploring a
questions.
concern.
I'm not going to sit here and just let you make false statements about things.
There's no false statements. Do
You're
we want
saying-
to
you're-
look at the overtime accounts of what you're paying in ADP? Do we want to do we want to bring up the
So-
numbers of the pay increases? I'm not here to basically make
So,
you
Ralph,
look bad.
Ralph, when there's a cyber event, I shouldn't work the weekends? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not telling you that not to.
How do
okay?
you get people to work a weekend if you don't pay them?
You know, we have a lot of our directors, okay, all of our directors, none of them make a dime of overtime. None of them.
What directors are you referring to in ADP?
So Frank Antonucci is one example. He's made over $10,000 of overtime this year.
He cashed out vacation and sick time. That's not overtime.
Well, it's in the,
He's
it's
entitled to those things.
in the overtime account and classified at the time and a half rate.
If people have a personal day, they can cash them out, and it's classified as overtime. Ralph, that's true across the entire county.
Okay.
I
feel
don't
like
quite
we've
understand
gotten
that.
off
How
track.
do you have a 8-hour day and it's classified as time and a
Someone has a
half?
personal day, they can cash it out and
Okay.
not take the personal day. That's overtime.
But it should be straight time.
But it's classified as overtime on their timesheet. You only have so many hours in a year you're allowed to work. More than that is overtime.
I'm having a real hard time understanding that. So you're telling me that if a guy has an 8-hour personal day, that he's basically able to cash that out at
And get-
12 hours
No, he gets 8 hours.
at
And he
overtime?
works the day and gets paid for the day. He cashed out 8 hours.
Okay, but you said overtime.
It is called overtime because it's above and beyond his 40-hour week.
He's salaried.
He's a salary
Salary
employee.
don't get paid overtime.
They do. There's exempt and non-exempt people, and salary people are not always exempt from overtime.
Well, shame on you.
Well,
So-
Let's try to
okay.
maintain some order in this meeting. So Commissioner, do you have any questions about the financials, or can I call the question?
I just, I appreciate what, Adrian, your attempt, and Sheriff, I appreciate the fact of trying to work with our office to try to do a transfer from, we were originally going to do was transfer, I believe, about $103,000 to cover the ADP
That
overruns.
transfer was never requested by my office.
Right.
In my defense, I would never have attempted to do that without some sort of positive input from people in your staff
I
to
understand.
check it.
And
So-
you did check with Pam, and then Pam sent an email saying, we don't need it.
Right, but prior to that email saying we didn't need it, on Wednesday through Friday of last week, I was given permission to pursue that because it had been offered by someone within the sheriff's office. So I would not have done that without some sort of positive permission from people within your staff. So in my defense, I would not have done that without that, so. I was told to investigate it, so,
Okay,
By-
well, thank you.
By somebody,
in your staff, yes. Actually, 2 people within your staff.
Who?
I am not gonna,
I-
if they want to
I'm-
reveal
I'm the
their
party that's
names.
here,
Right.
asking the question, being asked the questions, and this is reminiscent of you talking to my chief deputy without my authority, and you go down a different rabbit hole, and then I say, that's not what we're going to do. I operate the auditor's office. I am there
understand.
every day.
And I will change how I operate then, I guess, if I can't trust the input of your.
Pam
staff.
mentioned to me last Wednesday that she's working on something. You called her and you mentioned, instead of you going through all of this transfer, why don't I transfer these over-appropriated funds from the sheriff's office? She then met with me on Thursday and I told her, no, we're not doing this. Now,
Well, she didn't say
I was
anything
not-
to me until Sunday then.
Well,
so.
I was not in the office on Friday.
And I had sent up the transfer and it was entered by your staff, by the people that had
Well, I
indicated that.
I understand that.
Okay,
The
yeah,
the clerks who enter it are not involved in decision-making.
right, okay. Now that I know that, I will.
Are
Okay, there's a-
you satisfied with your questions for the financials?
Yes.
So I'd like to call the question.
Commissioner Spitaleri.
Aye.
Commissioner Brackey.
Aye.
Commissioner DeVore.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you, Adrian.
very much, yes.
Thank you.
Adrian.